Als filosoof heb ik de voorbije jaren vooral doorgebracht in het gezelschap van denkers die al lang dood zijn. In stilte, lezend. Maar nu wil ik de wereld ontdekken door mensen te ontmoeten die mij inspireren. Ik krijg de kans om hun leven binnen te stappen en te praten over de dingen die voor hen belangrijk zijn.
I'm Roger Scruton, writer and philosopher, and an outspoken conservative who is actually really a human being.
De eerste persoon op mijn lijstje is de Britse filosoof Roger Scruton. Een man met een uitgesproken mening. Hij heeft meer dan 40 boeken op zijn naam over filosofie, kunst en politiek. Al 20 jaar woont hij op een landgoed in Engeland dat hij zelf Scrutopia noemt.
Why am I here in Sunday Hill Farm? Well, that's because this is the home that I've made for myself and the people who are close to me. But why am I here in this world? That is a really difficult question.
Dat het leven heel fragiel is, besefte hij 2 maanden geleden. Hij viel van zijn paard tijdens een vossenjacht en brak zijn been op 4 plaatsen. Ik heb Roger regelmatig ontmoet op conferenties overal ter wereld. Vandaag bezoek ik hem voor het eerst in zijn habitat.
Hi, Alicja. How are you?
Hi.
I know.
3 times.
I know, that's normal. Welcome to Scrutopia.
Thank you.
You're looking quite well.
Thank you. You as well, after the accident.
I know, I'm managing.
Amazing. You're walking without a stick.
Well, I do need a stick to get anywhere
Where is your
substantial. I think I put it behind the door.
You don't need it indoors.
No. Do you want to... Let me give you a cup of tea.
Okay,
Yes?
okay.
Yes.
I will follow.
I can't follow. Here's the kitchen.
Lovely.
And I'll show you around the farm and we can sit and talk about all the things you want to talk about.
Yeah.
The kind of thing that I believe and think, or refuse to believe and refuse to think.
It wasn't difficult to find Sunday Hill Farm, but we almost thought we passed it. But then I saw it, Sunday Hill Farm.
Right.
I was expecting to see Scrutopia.
Oh, really? No.
Unrecognized
No,
little state.
That name is reserved for my literate friends. If we put that on the, there would be a deep offence to the farming community all around.
But why do you call it Scrutopia? Like, it's obvious Scrutopia, Scruton and Utopia, but utopias are not, mostly they do not have a happy end. It's more
that's true. Well, maybe
a dream than reality.
Yes, well, this was my dream, and it's become a reality. It's that's why it's not just utopia. It's Scrutopia. That's the concrete realization of utopia.
Of your dreams.
Yeah, well, up to a point. There are some people who dream abstractly, and their dreams have no detail. Marx and Engels in German ideology, their utopia is completely abstract and negative. We take away private property, we take away this and that, and then everybody is equal and there's blissful serenity for the rest of history. Those things are bound to end in disaster because they are completely without any conception of or love for the actual world. But you see that this is a concrete utopia. That's the screw bit. That's my vision of life in the end. That everything, all hopes and desires and ideals must be qualified by the efforts to achieve them, by the obstacles in the way, and by the reality of imperfect human beings. And okay, maybe I haven't achieved very much, but at least all those imperfect human beings that I've encountered along the way have left their mark. You included, given that, here you are, interrogating me.
Once again.
Yeah.
I saw on a website yesterday evening on Farm Sunday, farmer Roger and his wife Sophie. Since when are you a farmer?
Yeah, well, what was that on? That was on some advert, was it? Or...
yeah, Farm Sunday,
Yeah.
I think the website is.
Yeah, well, I am a farmer, yes. That's to say, I sometimes cut a bit of grass.
Well, you need more to be a farmer.
Do you? What, owning a farm is a step on the way to being a farmer. There are a few animals. We can go and feed the cows, if you like.
Yeah, I can practice for the future. You never know. Philosophers that become farmers,
Well,
there is a future.
Well, no, there is a future, you know, because there's no career for a philosopher in the academic world anymore, whereas farming is still alive. All that you see here is Sunday Hill Farm, right to the horizon. Now, here are our little cows.
Aww.
They have this little field all to themselves.
You didn't have cows before,
No,
did you?
no.
No, it's new.
New, yes. This is your first experience
Yeah.
of husbandry. Come on, then, Alicia.
Yeah, what do I have to do? Like, go there?
Pour it into the trough.
Just have to watch where you step.
Okay, that's fine. So how did your accident happen?
Well, we were going across a bridge, a very narrow bridge, over a sort of little stream. The whole herd, the hunt followers, and it was about this wide. Normally, the horse can put his back foot exactly where he puts his front foot, so it's quite easy to do that. But Desmond, being so big, he put his back foot slightly to the left of his front foot, and crashed into the river. Sophie was very brave and just jumped straight in and extracted me from under the horse. But he then had to try and lever himself out. So he levered himself against my thigh, which then just cracked in 4 places. But luckily it was the thigh and not the back or the neck, you know.
Yeah. Were you scared for that? Like the moment you knew
I was just trying to
accident.
I was just trying to get away from underneath him because I could have drowned, obviously. There you are, good boy. So that's
a huge horse.
you see why I broke my leg, can't you?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So this is what we call home field, the field next to the house. You see, this part of England was the Breydon Forest, which was a royal forest kept for hunting for the king in the Middle Ages. Right, and this tree is one little remnant of that forest.
So it's still from the Middle Ages?
Probably. I mean, it's a few hundred years old, I should think. It's an oak tree. There we are. And then this field, that is one that we don't fertilise, we keep it. We're trying to get wildflowers growing again on it. And
is there a reason for those wildflowers?
Yes, aesthetic. The reason for this entire place is aesthetic. The reason for my life is aesthetic. You know, I'm one of those people who believes that the aesthetic instinct is not an arbitrary addition to the human mind, but actually fundamentally what we're about. The arrangement and rearrangement of things so that, if you like, the spirit shines through. And that's what I think one feels very much about the countryside. Even if you're a farmer whose main concern is to make money out of it, still what you are doing is arranging and rearranging, and these aesthetic values are unavoidable. Because they are the way in which, so to speak, you are reflected in the things around you and justified by them. So, going back to wildflowers, we decided that we should restore this field to its original condition. And that means we don't fertilize it, and we stand over it in a posture of prayer, hoping that the wildflowers will come back. We have done some seeding, of course, to help them on their way.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. You know, in the world in which we are now, where it's so difficult to find a transcendental source for moral values, you know, given the skepticism about religion and so on, we have to look for other sources. And, you know, it's been very much part of the consciousness of Western civilization since the Enlightenment that there are other sources. One must open one's eyes to nature and to the human world and see, as it were, the immanence of value. When things speak to you, shine at you, when the light that is present in everything shines through. That's essentially what we mean by aesthetic values, or what we ought to mean. And beauty isn't this casual thing that you might choose to be interested in or not, just as someone might be choose to be interested in chocolate or something. It is, if you like, it's the thing that attaches us to the world in the first place. That is the thing that is telling us, you belong here. And you, in response, saying, yes, I do belong because you are here.
So only we can recognize beautiful things and the beauty.
Only human beings can, yes. Only it's part of our self-consciousness, our understanding, our understanding that we are in the world in a questioning relation with it. I think everybody is open to the experience of beauty and to what I've been saying, and in moments will perceive the truth of them. But people turn away from it because the truth is difficult and can be uncomfortable. So people turn away from it and go back to consuming, to excitements, distractions. And that's reasonable. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that, but they're missing out on something. Maybe missing out on everything that matters sometimes.
And what does matter in life?
Well, there's no one thing that matters. You matter, your life matters, and what you make of it. But also, you can only make anything of your life if you recognize that others matter more. It's the relation with others, which is where mattering begins, and not just human others, the otherness of the world that stands out there, inviting your attention. And the other who invites not just attention, but love, compassion, and all the other positive things that we feel towards each other. Cows have been in here, I can see.
Yeah, leaving their marks. They even slept here.
Yes, they slept here. They very quickly eat all the grass in one field and then start struggling to get into the next one. So here you can see the full extent of Scrutopia. It's not a vast amount, but
It's huge.
it's huge by. It's satisfactory by local standards. But you know, these days farming is to be profitable. It has to be conducted by an agribusiness with something like 1,000 hectares. Then it becomes profitable. This, which is just 40 hectares or 45 or something, is not profitable.
But that was never the aim anyway.
No, it was never the aim, but we still need to maintain it. You know, all the money that I earn goes into maintaining it, and that means that we're constantly feeding money into the local economy because we employ people to do the work as well as doing a lot of it ourselves, and so we maintain a kind of equilibrium. And all the farmers here are in the same position. They have to maintain equilibrium by doing something else, something other than farming. Like I do my writing and so on, and give talks and lectures. I'll just leave the boots here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oop.
Right.
So will you play something for me on the piano?
Oh. Well, I can't really play these days.
I don't believe you.
Completely out of practice. I've been...
I don't believe you. When we met in Oxford,
Yeah.
you said to me, like, oh, I'm an amateur. And then I find out that you have written 3 librettos and 2 operas, and then I feel like, oh, that kind of amateur.
an amateur from the point of view of playing, definitely. But let's see if I can
It
play
still
you
will be brilliant.
I tell you what, I've been going through these strange little pieces by Zdeněk Fibiš. He was a late romantic Czech composer who wrote hundreds of tiny pieces for piano called Nálady, dojmy a upomínky, ideas, moods, impressions. All of them apparently devoted to some part or other of his mistress's body. I was just practicing a little waltz. I'll probably make mistakes. So here's a
Which
little
might
waltz.
be a leg.
Yeah, okay. And I need my glasses, you see. I carry on. Here you are, Alicja, you could do this.
Do you want me to help you?
No, it's all right. But you're young and strong, and here am I, an old geezer with a broken leg.
But you promised to teach me some farming so that I have a future as a philosopher.
Well, this is, there's no... The only thing you need to know here is don't step on any vegetables.
You said I'm young and strong, but
I know.
you're doing pretty well. Not with the young part, but with the strong part.
Well, for my age, I'm young. There we are. There should be some things coming up there, but I
You
suspect...
still feel young?
Yeah, actually, I think I have a youngish constitution. If I didn't, I wouldn't have recovered so quickly from this broken leg. So apparently in the old days, before they discovered all this new kind of surgery, you had a 50% chance of dying from the broken femur.
And is that something that scares you?
No.
Thinking about
No,
death?
actually, I'm not scared of death at all. I'm scared of the, obviously, as everybody is, of the suffering that precedes it. And I worry about, you know, what the family will feel, inevitably. That's, especially children, obviously, how they'll cope. And then I have to water the things in the greenhouse.
Okay, let me do that then.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm only watching and observing, and I feel useless. You don't want to feel useless.
Well, there's two kinds of useless. Your kind and mine.
Okay, that needs an explanation.
Mine is the kind of transcendental uselessness that attaches to works of art.
Okay, and I am?
Well, we'll sort that one out later.
That's easy. So, all the little plants here?
Yeah, just a little bit of water on everything. There's some tomatoes down underneath and a cucumber. All the kind of absurd things that we Europeans eat.
And do you walk to the pond on a daily basis?
I do, actually. I used to come every day to feed the fish, but there's been some kind of crisis with the fish. They never come up these days.
There is an egg. Is that normal?
Wow. How interesting. Oh, it's a duck egg, of course.
Is it?
Yeah, it's one of the... Because there are some ducks around here. We might try incubating it and see if a little duck comes out.
How much do you take?
That'll do. If anybody comes up to eat it, I shall be so glad. In the old days, they used to come straight up, leaping.
No.
No, clearly not.
No, something is going wrong with your fish.
Yeah.
And were the fish important for the pond or for you?
Yeah, they were, because all life is important. You know, one of our intentions here has always been to maintain a viable ecosystem that reproduces itself all the time, you know.
And is that the reason why you have written green philosophy?
Yeah, in a place like this, you become acutely aware of how fragile everything is and how interdependent everything in the natural economy is.
But it's very unusual for a conservative philosopher to write on green philosophy.
Yes, it is. But that's... Well, this is one of my themes. You know, for me, the environmental protection is fundamentally a conservative cause, but it became confiscated by the left, largely because it was seen as a means of protest against, wealth and industry and all and the capitalist machine. Whereas in my reading of history, it has always actually been a conservative cause. The idea being that we should conserve natural capital just as we conserve human capital. We conserve these things to pass them on from one generation to the next. And that is essentially the core thought of conservatism, that you're here as a trustee. You don't own the earth exclusively for yourself or for this current generation. You must maintain what the dead have bequeathed to you for the benefit of the unborn. Now look at that great black mass of tadpoles there. You can tell that it must be a healthy pond, because after all, frogs require proper oxygenated water, and there they all are.
So it must be another problem with
there
the
must
fish.
be, yes, I suspect that there's something really interesting to fish going on down at the bottom of this pond. You never know. Perhaps they have a series of lectures on idealist philosophy or whatever going on at the bottom in the mud. Now it's all very silent. We need a subject, do we?
No, we also need silence.
Oh, do we need silence? Okay. Silence plus duck egg.
In favour of some silence.
Oh, I'm totally in favour of silence, especially from most people.
Not only from people, but just in general. Silence is,
I totally agree.
Underestimated.
Of course. But silence is different from the absence of noise. It's a positive thing that comes from within. There we are. It's just an ordinary Victorian church. When I settled in the country, I thought I ought to explore my ancestral faith, so I came to the nearby church, and I realised they hadn't got an organist and they were struggling. So I said, if you want someone to come and just accompany the hymns, I'll come and do it. And this is where I play. I don't know whether the organ will work, but you can. The light works.
So when did you for the first time acknowledge and felt the presence of God?
Oh, I think all children acknowledge it as soon as they can speak, really. I didn't have any great experience, but I had lots of little epiphanies when I was a child, when I saw that there was a guardian creative principle under which I lived, and that I was safe as long as I was on the right side of that principle. But if I deviated from it, I wasn't safe. Its protection could be withdrawn. That was the feeling that I had. Then, you know, I became a convert to the Anglican faith, and that was an interesting experience. It was partly the ritual, the sense of being at home in this place and at home in my country. That was something that we were all taught in the post-war period, you know, that this country was a home and it had defended itself successfully and God was on its side. So, you know, the Anglicanism is great. It's it's tremendously English. It's a recognition of the seriousness of the question and a refusal to give a definite answer. That's the English way of life, celebrated in this little church. So there, and also, of course, hymns and music and all that.
It looks like your hands have the need to play.
I might see if I can play. I should be able to play that F minor prelude without a mistake, but, you know, I always love the key of F minor anyway.
God was not always in your life.
God is always in everybody's life, but on the other hand, to acknowledge his presence is difficult. That's the whole purpose of churches, in my view. Not to recruit people to violent passions, but to get them to sit quietly and acknowledge the presence of something greater than themselves. Of course, there are moments when ambition and need and appetite have turned me away from him, have turned me away from the recognition of my own unimportance, you know. That's and I think we all have those moments when our grasping of the world takes precedence over our standing back and appreciating the world and acknowledging that our being here is a great gift. You know, essentially, religion, in my view at least, is a matter of giving thanks. That's what a service is in a church. But, you know, people forget to give thanks. They want to grasp things instead. They feel that they haven't been given enough. And it's not even a gift either. They're entitled to it. This is one of the great diseases that's encouraged by the welfare state. You know, the state looks after everything. Everything is your right. You don't have to deserve anything. It's there for you to take. And you certainly don't give thanks for it since it was your right. But all that nonsense about human rights that we see around us today is a kind of atheism. It's a denial of humility, a denial of the reality of God in our lives.
So the welfare state is guilty that the churches are empty
I wouldn't
now.
put it as simply as that. No, the welfare state is not guilty for the emptying of the churches. Could be the other way round. You know, that the loss of faith is guilty for the rise of this universally self-centered attitude. I don't know, which is, you know...
Do you think this will change again? That the churches will, at a certain moment, become fuller again and people would recognize and acknowledge God?
I don't know. You see, I think if we look back over what we know of human history, religions disappear suddenly. And they don't come back. Look at the religions of the Egyptians, the Greeks and the Romans. They just disappeared. And they disappeared immediately after Christianity came into being, and it swept them away.
Are you afraid Anglicanism will disappear?
Well, everything will disappear. I'm not afraid that it will disappear because disappearance is of the essence of the human condition. But I think it will be a great shame because disappearing with it, of course, will be this entire culture. This is the graveyard from this church. It's just the people of Garston who are buried here.
So you won't be buried here?
Yes.
Yes, you will?
With any luck. This would be an appropriate place, yeah. People should be buried in the place that has had meaning for them, and it's consecrated ground.
So I assume your funeral will be here? But, like, it's very small.
You're looking forward to my funeral already, I can see that.
As you know.
Yeah, I know. It would be such a solution for the whole world, that, you know, if only we could get him buried.
Gosh, no, that's not the one.
Then he wouldn't be a nuisance anymore.
No, I just wonder if you already think about
no,
that.
because,
A very sad day for most people in your life.
I think, no, I don't. I don't think. Spinoza says that the free man thinks of nothing less than death, but I think he exaggerates. I think you must have the thought of death always in mind, but it must be a cheerful thought, a positive thought. You know, look, I've been in this world. I am in this world. I'm giving thanks for the fact of being in this world, and one day I shall leave it, and that's part of the price that one pays. So it must be a good thing. Right, where are those chickens? Look, look, look. No sign of them. Have they escaped? No, the chickens have disappeared. Look, 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 look. Ah, you're inside. Good. Come on. Come on, in you go. Only 2 eggs today. One of you has not performed her duty. Hi, Fran. This film crew is to be ignored. They've been following me around all day. But it's only Belgian television, it doesn't matter.
You're walking well.
Yes.
You're almost running there, Roger.
Sorry?
You're almost running.
Right. I am, actually. I'm very near. I'm back on the horse. You knew that, didn't you?
Yeah. Very brave. Very brave, Fudge, isn't he?
Ah, there you are. This used to be a haunted room in the house. It still has evil lurking in the corner, which comes to us, of course, through that horrible screen there.
Oh, you have a television. That's new.
I'm afraid so. The children insisted on having it because they felt they were too innocent, aged 13 or 14, so they had to have the devil in their lives.
And does it work?
Luckily, it hasn't worked, no.
So maybe the television isn't the devil after all?
No, no. While they're watching it, they don't belong to us. But when it's switched off and they get up, their faces beam with their original homely smiles, and we know that the damage has not yet been permanent.
But can the damage be permanent? And not because of the television, but are there people out there that are possessed with the devil?
Well, The question of the devil is a really interesting one. I've been thinking about that recently because of the vast amount of literature that, in our civilization devoted to the idea of evil. And, you know, we're very sensitive to that. And, of course, the Manichaeans in 2,000 years ago believed that the world was one continuous contest between two divine principles, the good and the evil. I think that is untenable. That's an absurd position in the end. I think the creative, positive side of human life comes to us from God, but the negative is our contribution. This is where human beings specialise in turning the world away from its own nature. Animals are not evil. You know, the lion that tears apart the lamb is not committing some evil act. He is simply fulfilling his nature.
Yeah, but that's also the... Animals are also not doing the real good.
No, that they're morally neutral, whereas human beings are capable of this other thing, not just damaging each other, which they inevitably do, but wishing to destroy, wishing to find out the centre of another being and erase it from the world. That's what Mephistopheles is referring to in Faust. And I think you find people like that. Of course, I don't mean just the great villains like Hitler and Stalin and Lenin and so on. We know how to describe them and we know what their actions are. But there's the other more modest kind of evil, the people whose evil is secretly known only to a few, only perhaps to themselves, those who, as it were, take another life and suck it out and destroy it.
If God created us and we are the root of evil, did he then also create evil?
Listen, you're asking these difficult metaphysical questions to which the traditional answer is St. Augustine's, that God could not have created us as the positive object of his love if he did not create us as free. And being free, we were free to sin.
So freedom and evil
go hand in hand, yes. But we have to strive to use our freedom in the right way.
So there is no transcendental evil, no real devil?
There's no real devil except that which is manifest in people, in you and me. But I think you're not so bad as far as I know you to be.
Be careful.
No, there is something witch-like about your way of looking at me, but I think I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt.
So my evil side is not that bad. How about your evil side?
I'm very aware of it. You know, when you get to my age, you look back at all those things, as C.S. Eliot puts it, things ill done and done to others' harm, which once you took for exercise of virtue. You know, that's something which weighs on you as you grow older. Maybe there are innocent people who don't have that experience, but I think they must be rare, and I'm certainly aware of it in my own life. And I feel that maybe that there's time now for moments of penitence while there's still life available.
Is there still a lot of life available?
Oh, I don't know. I felt the other day when Desmond the horse fell on top of me and broke my leg that maybe there wasn't going to be much more life available. But by miracle, I survived.
Are you now more aware of time?
I'm more aware of course, of of my own mortality, certainly, but also of the fact that so much of what bothers me and concerns me from the beginning of the day to the end of the day is not the most important thing. You know, my life is still too full of distractions. And I think that's true of everybody's life, of course.
So it's not depressing, being 72?
It's not depressing at all. I know it's the best time of life because, after all, I've achieved a lot of things that I wanted to achieve. I've freed myself of financial burdens. That takes a whole lifetime for people of our class, you know. We don't inherit things. We don't. We have to make our own way, as you know well enough. But around the age of age 70, suddenly you realise that there are no debts.
Is that a real satisfaction?
No,
It's
not a real satisfaction. It means you can now devote yourself to the serious things in life. You know, meditating in the way that we're doing, reflecting on the beauty of the world, and you know, creative things like that, and the loves and affections which you're surrounded. And at 7:30 each day, you can open a bottle of white Burgundy without ruining your bank account. Think of that.